Good morning, good morning, good morning. What am I doing? Well, you know it's Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday. So if it's Wellness Wednesday, then it is time to talk about the plant paradox. Now, I even have the book. Yeah, I have the book. And I left it downstairs, so um, you can't see it, but you've seen the book before. But just hold on a second because, I'm just going to zoom you in on these things right there so you can look at them. And I will be right back with the book because we want to show the book, of course. All right, here we go. The plant paradox, right there. Okay, by Dr. Stephen R. Gundry, and I don't know what the R stands for, but I have a feeling it might be Robert. Stephen Robert Gundry. Now, what have we done? Hmm. We've gone over a couple of things in this book, and what I want to review are the first three chapters. Let me zoom out a little bit, that way you can get a little bit of me in this. Okay, review the first three chapters, and why? Because it's very important. Um, Most of these things we never heard before. We didn't even know about. Okay, say chapter one, the war between plants and animals. Who knew? Okay, plants are living organisms. Lectins are part of the defense. Number one, lectins create holes in your gut wall. Number two, they confuse your immune system with molecular mimicry. And number three, they disrupt the cellular communication. And this disrupts one's hormonal balance. So these are things I bet none of you knew. So let's go over them, shall we? Now, because it's very important before we go on to number four, chapter four, because in chapter four, we're going to really go over some things. So let's make sure that you understand everything that we've gone through in the first three chapters. As we talked about, there is a war. Yes, there is a war between plants and animals. We learned, we knew this. We kind of knew this, but we really didn't conceptualize it. Plants are living organisms, right? And if they're living organisms, what it means is that they are trying to live also. They are trying to survive. That's right. They're trying to go on. Thus, they create ways to defend themselves from us and other animals. We're not the only animals on the earth. You have deer, antelope, buffalo, whoever. Apes, they love plants. So they try to create ways to defend themselves. And one of those defenses, for the lack of a better word, I'm going to use, is poisoning. Yeah, they try to poison us to discourage us from eating them. Now, a protein called lectins is used to do so. Lectins is one of the ways that they try to defend themselves. It's a form of poisoning, but it takes on various variable forms of poisoning, which makes it so difficult to combat and to avoid. Number one, lectins create holes in our gut wall from our esophagus down to our large intestines. Then they attack our gut wall. Now, this is not your normal type of poison because, see, plants are very smart. And so they've been thinking, or they've had a couple of millennia to, to make ways, produce ways, create ways to try to keep us from eating them one way or the other. Once they have opened up holes in our gut walls uh, to get out, then they attack surrounding tissue, lymph nodes, glands, whatever they could get to and kind of create havoc. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're supposed to do, and that's what they do. Number two, lectins confuse our immune system. They confuse our immune system by means of molecular mimicry. You see, once they are beyond our gut lining, they take on forms of protein that resemble proteins that our body needs. This is a genius, okay? And proteins that our body needs and uses. Our immune system then attacks them because remember, they've got beyond the gut wall. They've already breached the wall, they've got beyond it, and now our body says, oh, wait a second, you're supposed to be in that gut lining, okay? You guys are not supposed to be out here. And I'm going to go into more of that later. Listen, you're in trouble. We're coming after you. Our white blood cells start attacking them. And they also attack whatever proteins look like them, which cause nutrient deficiency and autoimmune diseases. Yes, they just don't only attack the lectins, because the lectins look like proteins in our body, so they end up attacking these other proteins in our body that we need and use. Number 3, lectins disrupt cellular communication. It's actually cellular communication. Just give me a couple of times saying that and I'll have it perfect. Don't worry about it. They disrupt the transmissions between our cells by mimicking and blocking hormonal signals. Now, this is what I'm talking about, ingenious. They're thinking of ways of how to keep us from eating them. And actually, they're quite good at it. Now, hormones are proteins that actually fit into like docking. They have these docking ports, okay, in our cells. Our cells have docking ports. And our hormones, when we secrete them, actually fit into these docking ports. And they tell our cells what they want them to do. Okay, cell says, the hormone says, hey, listen, I want you to create more of this. I want you to do more of that. And then the cells do so. Now, what the lectins do is that they bind themselves to important docking ports, or any docking ports. All of our cells are important docking ports. And they bind themselves to the cell walls of these, and they either give wrong information or they block information from being given or received. Now, I don't know about you, but we need to incorporate plants in our defense system. I mean, if you want to go to war, you want to disrupt things, you want to blow holes into things, your gut wall, you want to confuse the enemy, which is what they're doing, and doing a very good job of it. So in chapter 1, we learn there's a war between plants and animals. And I dare say maybe the plants are winning. Okay, chapter 2. Lectins on the loose. Now, this is important because as we learned about all this, as I first learned about lectins, where are they? Okay, and how did they get here? Have they been? They've been here. Okay, they have always been part of a plant's defense. But why? Why has it become such a problem in the last 100 years or so? Well, it has been a problem longer than that, but nobody knew it. We didn't even know they existed. Okay, but our real problem with lectins began with the agricultural revolution. Yes. Now, before that, that happened about 10,000 years ago. But before that, we mostly ate leaves, think salads. Okay, let me just preface this. About 10,000 years ago, humans began developing a new source of food, grains. Okay, before that, humans ate mostly sweet potatoes. They ate onions, beets, carrots. They were called tuber vegetables. And they ate leaves, think salads. Okay, so we ate these things, sweet potatoes, and animal protein, animal fat, animal protein. But then we discovered we could cultivate grains. And with the cultivation of grains, we could grow them in abundance. I mean, they grew in abundance, hand over foot, and we could store them quite easy. So when you think of the Egyptian times when Joseph was in charge of the Pharaoh's wheat supplies, and they fed most of what was then the world that they knew of at that time, the Egyptians did. And part of that was that the tribes of Israel, Abraham had to go down into Egypt in order to get grain in order to live. See, this is what wheat, rice, barley, what oats grains can do. They're easily stored for the most part, and then you can reconstitute them into something else. Wheat you can use for bread, pasta, and many other different things. So, cultivation, the agricultural revolution. Okay. Then, after that, number two, about 2,000 years ago, a mutation occurred. A mutation occurred in the cows. Yeah. Now, how does a mutation occur in cows? Now, I want you to think about this, and I've thought about this a little bit. But let me just go further with that. The mutation occurred in the milk that the cows were making. It changed from A2 to A1 casein. Okay. Now, I wonder what prompted cows, or what, I think it was the plants. I think it was plant. They were already working against us at that time. Of course they were. They were looking to survive, so they're not really working against us. They're working against the cows too. So the whole bunch of you plant eaters, as far as they're concerned, are nothing but trouble. Okay. Now the protein A1, okay, changes during digestion. It becomes a protein called beta casomorphin. Beta casomorphin, and this protein attaches itself to the pancreas. Okay, to the pancreas's insulin producing cells. So beta casomorphin attaches itself to the pancreas's insulin producing cells, which in turn tells the body to attack the pancreas. Okay, because there's a foreign protein on the pancreas. And so in order to save the pancreas, your body sends out defenses and it starts attacking the pancreas. This has become the primary cause of type 1 diabetes. Okay? So we have the agricultural revolution, the mutation of cow's milk from A2 to A1, and now we have plants from the New World. Now, right now, we don't know about plants from the New World because we're so used to eating them. Okay? But what happened was when Columbus discovered the Americas, that's right, the Americas, way back when in 1492, okay, there was something that we had never seen before. No European, no Asian, no African, Asian, European peoples had ever seen the foods that were coming from the New World, which were tomatoes, squashes, eggplants, potatoes, corn, beans, and others. We had never seen this before. And so our bodies, in addition to dealing with the lectins and the mutation of the cows already, now we were getting overloaded with even new lectins. New lectins. And we've been dealing with that ever since. So it's been very hard for us to keep up, our bodies to keep up with these lectin bombs, these new lectin bombs that came over from the Americas. Consequently, we have suffered health-wise. And lastly, GMOs. I don't even know if we need to talk about GMOs. GMOs seem to be only good for producers, but they unleashed even more lectins into and at our bodies. And in addition to that, there's been a lot of broad-based antibiotics and Roundup, weed killers and things that have gotten in and destroyed our gut bacteria, which our gut bacteria is what we use to fight off lectins. So, number two, lectins on the loose. Agricultural revolution, mutation of cow's milk, plants, and GMOs. And gluten is just one form of lectins. So we're battling. We're being attacked on a number of fronts. Okay? And that leads to chapter 3. I was going to say number 2, but it leads to chapter 3, which is your gut is under attack, and all disease begins in the gut. All disease begins in the gut, and your gut is under attack. Now, your gut consists of trillions and trillions and trillions of microbes. They don't even have human forms, some of them. I mean, okay, to be honest with you, most of them, 99% of them don't have a human type form, okay? I don't want to scare you, but your microbes are inside of your gut lining, inside of your stomach, intestine, large intestine, small intestine, and colon when it makes its exit. Now, these microbes, bacteria, molds, viruses, fungi, protozoas, and a couple of other things you really don't need to know because it might make you sick. But they're all in there working for you. This it's like a force of workers are inside of your body doing work, digesting your food. Right? You can't digest food without these microbes. Okay, and also they are our first line of defense when it comes to foreign invaders entering into our body orally or through our nose. They are our first line of defense. Our esophagus, our mouth, they defend our microbes inside of this gut line and this gut wall, this wall here. It's called the GI tract, gastrointestinal tract. Actually attacks these things and neutralizes, destroys or neutralizes them. And you're going to see why we have a problem. Okay, because your gut wall is under attack. Now, these things are essential. These microbes are essential. They depend on us. Okay, we are their host. They live inside of us. So when we live, they live. But there's a symbiotic connection here. When they live, we live. We are totally dependent on them as much as they are dependent on us. Okay. As I told you, they digest our food and they are our first line of defense. They are a world within us, but they are not under our control. They work for us, but they still are not under our control. They're contained like a city within a country. Okay, and they're contained by your gut wall. Your gut wall protects the rest of your body from these little microbes. Because remember now, they're not really humanoid, if that's a word. They kind of have like I said, they're fungi, they're viruses, they're protozoas, they're bacteria. And so our body really doesn't allow these microbes, these workers, outside of their city. They're supposed to stay in there. So the gut wall is to keep your body keep the microbes from entering your body, escaping, running free, and your body just doesn't trust them, from what I understand. Okay, if good bugs or bad bugs escape, they are targeted by our body's immune system. Now, lectins attack your gut walls, specifically your stomach and large intestine. They attack them and they put holes into them. Okay, lectins are grains, oats, corn, rice. They attack the stomach and large intestine, the lining of it. They open up holes in them. And once they are beyond the walls, they attack the tissue, lymph nodes, and blood vessels of your body. Now we have NSAIDs, NSAID, or NSAIDs, however you want to pronounce it. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs is what they are. Okay, there you go. Advil, Motrin, Aleve, Naproxen, and the rest of them. They attack and damage the lining of your small intestine. Now these are just as bad as lectins, and we didn't know about them. Millions and millions and millions of Americans and everyone around the world have been consuming Motrin, various forms of ibuprofen, Aleve, aspirin, and things of that sort. But they knew aspirin was causing problems with your stomach, but they couldn't go into your small intestine. That wasn't found out until about 10 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, the damage that NSAIDs, I'm just going to call them straight out because it's easy to say, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. The damage that they have been doing to your body, if you've been taking them, they've been damaging your body heavily, okay? They've been tearing holes into the lining of your small intestine. Then we have acid reducers, Nexium, Protonics, and the rest. They destroy the acid balance of your stomach, the stomach acid balance. Usually, your stomach acids kill the bad bugs. Okay, once they come in, bada boom, they attack. Stomach acids your line of defense with your microbes, they kill the bad bugs that try to enter your body orally. There's only a couple of ways they can get in: through your skin, through your nose, or through your mouth. Okay? So these acid reducers reduce that acid. Without that defense, the bad bugs proliferate and they kill off your good bugs. Okay? This leads to what we have been dealing with, the majority of Americans, without even knowing, is a leaky gut syndrome. You know, all that gas and bloating. Some of you get diarrhea from it, but definitely you're getting gas. Okay? They've been selling gas pills and all kinds of pills to deal with gas over the last 25 years because there's been a proliferation in the fact that we have a leaky gut or irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Okay? Last but not least, what we have to touch upon in chapter 3 is the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve runs from your brain to your stomach. This is important. I can leave this here because there's something at the end. The vagus nerve leads from your brain to your stomach. Okay, it's kind of a pathway. Your stomach is in there saying, hey, your brain saying, hey, let's do what? Let's do this, let's do that. Okay? So research has found that lectins are reaching your brain through your vagus nerve or vagus nerve. Now, here's what also they found out. That nerve, for every one nerve that's going down from your brain to your gut, there's 9 nerves, 9 times more nerves going from your stomach to your brain. So, bugs control you, and your stomach controls you. Your stomach tells your brain, hey, listen, we need to eat such and such, and you need to start getting to it. Whether it be cupcakes, some sweet Danish. One of my favorites were coffee rolls. Whether it's ice cream, fried chicken, bacon, steaks. You name it, your stomach is telling your brain what it should eat. And there we have a problem. The problem is this. Your stomach controls you, and the bugs are controlling your stomach. So that's what I wanted to go over. And that's why it was very important that I went over these 3 chapters, because there's a lot of information in these 3 chapters that is hard to grasp and then hard to assimilate into ourselves, even conceptually, to understand where are all these problems coming from, that we feel tired or sluggish, or that we're overweight. I want to press to you, you didn't know this. It's not your fault. If you're overweight, if you're on high blood pressure, if you're on all this medication for rheumatoid arthritis or whatever the case may be, it's not your fault. You've been eating healthy. That's right. You've been eating healthy. All the things they told you were healthy, the grains, okay, not healthy. The NSAIDs, just take this, okay? It won't be that bad. Not healthy, okay? You've been under attack. You've been under attack. Your gut biome has been compromised, terribly compromised, but it's not your fault. So, taking in this information is crucial to you going beyond this, because in chapter 4, we're going to talk about some other things. But as you see, plants do not want to be eaten by us or any other animal. They develop a defense to prevent it. Lectins are nearly everything that you've become used to eating, especially the foods that have been prescribed to you as healthy. Okay? So your entire body has been under attack for a period of time, probably since you were 8 years old. It's a miracle that you are living. Okay? But medication is not going to cure you. You're going to have to stop eating lectins, and that's what we're going to show you how to do. So all those autoimmune immune deficiencies, those weight gains, the arthritis, all of those are related to lectins. And we're going to start taking care of that in the next chapter. So all those things you didn't know that you were consuming, the foods and medication, were making you sick. Okay, we We've run out of time. We're going to move on to chapter 4 next week. And the title of that is Know Thy Enemy. You kind of already know who your enemy is, but now you're going to know how to defeat your enemy. Next week, we're going to go in chapter 4. It's pretty lengthy. I think we're going to cut it in half. Do half. There's 7 disruptors. I think we're going to go 3, go 4 the first time and 3 the second time. And we're going to make sure that we start becoming cognizant of the things that are making us sick, how to avoid them or neutralize them, and how to start eating foods that make you look good at 63 years old. That's right, 63 years old. So until then, hasta la vista, arrivederci, adios, au revoir, peace in the Middle East, and of course, goodbye. This is Clay Morris for the Amazing Grace Sports Network on Wellness Wednesday. I hope that I have been of some service to you. I hope that you have learned something, not through me. Hey, listen. Like the way I just ducked out of sight, right? Well, I wish I could, but I'm too tall for that. Plant paradox. I'm really going over this. We could go over it together while you're not eating your cereal in the morning anymore. Drink coffee, no dairy. That's part of it too. Just coconut milk. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure. Like I said, arrivederci. Hasta la vista. Arrivederci. Adios. Au revoir. Peace in the Middle East, and goodbye.